Welcome to Capital City News, your source for staying informed and engaged with Salt Lake City government. Reporting in from the Natural History Museum of Utah, I'm your host, Brian Young with Salt Lake City TV. For our episode today, we spoke with Sophia Nicholas about keeping our air clean and our history minutes about the Uinta Basin Reservation. Before we get to those, though, let's look at our legislative update, take a look back, and a look ahead.
At its November 16th meeting, the City Council discussed and adopted zoning regulations for temporary overflow winter shelters, heard public comment about Budget Amendment 4, and received an update about issues related to COVID-19, homelessness, racial equity in policing, and more. Then, acting as the Board of Canvassers, accepted and certified the results of the 2021 election. To learn more, visit slc.gov/council. Mayor Mendenhall laid out a plan to plant 1,000 new trees on the west side in 2021 as a way to improve equity on the west side and the strength of our urban forest. This month, Mayor Mendenhall, joined by volunteers from Bank of America, helped plant the 1,000th tree at Mountain View Elementary School. Mayor Mendenhall and Chief Brown assembled alongside other stakeholders, including Acting U.S. Attorney Andrea Martinez, ATF Special Agent in Charge Bradley Engelbert, and Acting U.S. Marshal Brandon Holt, to give the public an update on the Project Safe Neighborhoods initiative.
There is really no finish line to our work. As our city continues to grow and evolve, as the capital city for the fastest growing state in the nation, we're going to continue to grow our efforts to address crime right alongside our population growth. And as your mayor, I'm continually committed to finding new ways, creative solutions, and whatever approach we need to do to make our city streets safer for you.
To watch the complete update, visit the SLC TV YouTube page. The best way to defeat COVID-19 is by getting vaccinated and ensuring those around you are vaccinated too. Thankfully, there's great news from the FDA and CDC this week. Vaccines for COVID-19 are now available for kids aged 5 to 11. To set up your kid's appointment, visit the Salt Lake County Health Department website. Remember, one of the best ways to help prevent winter inversion this season is to cut down on your vehicle emissions. Walk if you can, chain your trips together to cut down on unnecessary trips, and be sure to turn your key and be idle-free. To learn more, visit slcgreen.com.
For our interview this week, we spoke with Sophia Nicholas, the Deputy Director of Salt Lake City's Sustainability Department, about keeping the air clean and remaining idle-free. As the colder temperatures roll in and the air quality has a tendency to get a little worse, why does that happen and what can we do about that?
Yeah, so when we get into the winter season, we have what are called inversions, when we have cold air that gets trapped by warmer air on top in our valley, which is shaped like a bowl, and that happens during high pressure episodes. And when that happens, everything that we put into the air from cars, homes, buildings, all the pollution, it doubles every day. So as we enter this wintertime season, it's very important to do everything we can to reduce pollution. And that includes from everything from driving and remaining idle free to avoiding wood burning on those bad days and turning the thermostat down a few degrees if you can.
As far as things that people can do, like you said, like the anti-idling thing, there is an ordinance in place for that. How does that work?
So Salt Lake City was one of the first cities in Utah to pass an anti-idling ordinance in 2011, and it calls for any idling that is happening on public property or private property that's open to the public, such as a drive-through. It is unlawful to do that over 2 minutes, with a few exceptions, which you can read about on our website. And we actually were able to strengthen our ordinance in 2021, just this year, to allow for a citation after just 1 warning instead of 3 warnings. And so that was a major accomplishment that we had in 2021. So anytime you're stopped and you're not in traffic, remember to just turn that key off, turn your engine off, and you'll help everyone breathe a little bit easier.
How much of an impact does not idling have in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah. Well, if you think about the fact that during a typical wintertime immersion day, over 50% of the pollution that we have comes from vehicles. And so when you take into account all of the tens of thousands of cars and trucks that are idling unnecessarily on those winter days, that adds up to a lot of preventable pollution. So it's something that we like to say, even if you have to drive, which of course many of us do, you can really do your part to help prevent that pollution from going into the air by making sure not to idle.
What are some of the things Salt Lake City is doing as an organization to help combat pollution on our end?
Yeah, Salt Lake City is doing a lot. We have an anti-idling ordinance within our city policy as well, and it's actually much stricter than the one for the community. So it's a 10-second limitation on idling with city vehicles. We're also focusing on transitioning our entire fleet to all electric vehicles over the next few years as the market creates those vehicles, particularly for heavy duty. But electric vehicles are one of the best ways that we can completely reduce those tailpipe emissions from our fleet. We're also looking at our buildings, making sure they run as efficiently as possible. And we are building to a net zero energy standard and just about to update our policy to call for all electric building construction when we have major projects, and that will eliminate all of on-site combustion. All of those things will do a tremendous good to our local air quality.
For folks who want to learn more about what the city's doing and other strategies on how they can help keep the air clean, where can they go to do that?
To learn more about our anti-idling ordinance in Salt Lake City and other ways that you can help clear the air, as well as what the city is doing, please visit our website at slcgreen.com.
Now it's time for our History Minute. When the Mormon pioneers arrived in the Salt Lake Valley in the mid-19th century, it was used mainly as a seasonal camp and hunting ground for the Utes, Goshutes, and Shoshone, as well as a trading post. Uintah Valley was a much more permanent settlement for the Utes, and they viewed the white settlers to their north as potential trade partners. That is, until the new colonizers began to encroach on sacred lands and important trading territories. Hostilities erupted between the natives and the colonizers. Brigham Young, leader of these colonizers, sought other places to send his people, and a survey party in 1861 reported to him that the Uinta Basin in eastern Utah was, quote, one vast contiguity of waste and measurably valueless except for nomadic purposes, hunting grounds for Indians, and to hold the world together. When he heard this, Young changed his plans and plotted to make this so-called waste a Ute reservation. After the Treaty of Spanish Fork, Abraham Lincoln created the Uintah Reservation by executive order, removing the Ute people from their land to make way for white settlers and placed the natives on the much less desirable parts of the state. More wars were fought, but by 1865 and the end of the Black Hawk War, the Utes accepted their fate and vacated the lush areas they'd lived in for generations and relocated to the Uinta Basin. Today, the Uinta Basin is home to the Ute Indian tribe of the Uintah and Ouray Reservation, headquartered in Fort Duchesne. The descendants of the settlers remain in the Salt Lake and Utah valleys. That's it for another episode of Capital City News. Remember, the best way to stay engaged is to stay informed. You can do that by following us on social media at SLC.gov, by subscribing to us on YouTube, and watching us on Channel 17. So, for Salt Lake City TV, reporting in from the Natural History Museum and the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, I'm Brian Young.